Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is Mixtressrae. You're watching Mixtress Video. So today, I'm not sure, as per usual, exactly what this is going to be, but I've been thinking about forcing relationships with tarot decks. I'm gonna actually, what am I gonna do? I need to like scoot closer or something. Okay. Floor life. Okay. Any of the rest of y'all like to sit on the floor on a pile of pillows and things? Besides Meg. Okay. So I've been thinking, and there's a reason for this, which I will get into, but I'm gonna bury the lead a little bit. I've been thinking about forcing relationships to tarot decks because I feel like a lot of us in the tarot community, tarot society, do this. I mean, we don't mean to, but we have certain tarot decks that we really want to like, and we keep things that aren't necessarily working for us because we want to like them. And this kind of plays into the concept that I first heard from Mary Grace, which is fantasy self, right? So I just thought it would be fun to do like a little hangout session, I can kind of show you. I'm constantly doing these sort of like going through my collection and assessing it and seeing if I want to put things in purgatory. I'm constantly doing that shit. So I just thought maybe I would just do it on camera and talk about what relationship do I want to have to this tarot deck, and just hold each one in my hands. I'm basically just Marie Kondoing. That's what I'm doing on camera. Maybe it's a declutter video. I don't know what this is. Okay, so I'm just gonna go. You guys can't see my shelf, but it's right over there. And I'm gonna go from bottom to top, right to left. You'll just get to see all of the casings of my decks as well. This is a beautiful bag that my friend Jess gave me. Get a little ghosty on the zipper pull. So this is Nightmare Before Christmas Tarot. This one was a gift from my Michael. It has art from Abigail Larson, and I really do love the deck. And for some reason, with all the issues that I have with masculinity in decks a lot of the time, for some reason, I'm totally on board with Santa as the Emperor. This deck, it was surprising. It's got a little bit more meat to it than you might think. I'm not like a super fan of Nightmare Before Christmas or anything, but the cardstock is not bad. However, this is a deck that, if it wasn't Abigail Larson's art, I don't think I would keep it. Because it's fun and cute, and I don't really have very many cute decks, but how is this in terms of what is the relationship that I have with this deck is I use it and I find it amusing when I use it, but I've had it for like 2 years and I've used it like, I don't know, serious times of not just pulling it out and looking through it like 10 times. But for now, I'm okay with keeping it because I'm just that into Abigail Larson's art. And I do, it's not taking up much space in my life. It's cute. It was a gift. I like it. So obviously that's an exception to because I don't like to keep things around that I don't have a good relationship with, but I have many exceptions to that. You know what I mean? And it depends on what kind of weight something has in your life. That feels like it's not taking up any of my brain space. It's there, it's cute. I can get it out sometimes. It's not creating noise, you know what I mean? Some decks are really fucking noisy, so you have to really like them or they gotta go. Next we have, I just recently changed my bags around, so I don't even know necessarily what's in. Okay, Everyday Witch. This one is still a growing relationship. I feel. Like I just got it. I'm very familiar with this deck, but I just got it in October. And it's very easy to read with. It really is a great deck to use with clients. And again, I got rid of the box, and I think I got rid of the guidebook too, because I didn't really like the guidebook. So it's another case of this isn't really taking up much room in my life, and I like it, and it's very easy to read with, and we still have a growing relationship, but I don't feel this deck isn't demanding anything of me. So this one is totally good to keep. Next, this is Tantric Dakini, I think. This one is one that I just got, and I really like it. I like the simplicity. There's a lot of goddess energy. I mean, look at this. It's like a Kali face and some fucking shit kicker boots. Love that. And so I've got nothing but, I mean, this is a new love, but I feel like I'm immediately communicating well with this deck. Like, I get it. I get it. It's not really a tarot, not really an oracle. You notice there's no candle here today, guys. I'm really trying not to have my candle out in this space anymore because I kept knocking it over and getting wax everywhere. Okay, so I've got some of these big Llewellyn boxes. I'm not going to bring the entire thing into frame. This is Tarot of Vampires. This one I've gotten out several times this year, and I'm really bonding with it. Which is weird because this is the second time I've had this deck, and I hated it the first time. And this one's got, see, like, there's a bunch of cards that are damaged. They just came that way, with like a scratch across them. Anyway, I'm really liking it this time around. So this one is a no-brainer. I'm keeping this, as I actually like it. Like, it might even be one of my top 10, which is so weird to say after how much I hated it the first time around. Next, this one's a difficult one. Shadowscapes. Because the imagery I love, but every time I get this deck out and try to read with it, it's difficult for me. As familiar as I am with this deck, I have the app on my phone, and I've been thinking about getting rid of it, which is weird because it was like never a possibility for me before. And some of this imagery is just like some of my favorite. This is like one of my very favorite world cards. And the fairy vibes, but every time I get this deck out and try to do a reading with it, it feels inaccessible to me. So, I don't know. So I think there's a certain aspect of me deluding myself with this deck because, like, I want to have a relationship with it, but every time I try, I feel shut out by that deck. I'm trying to, like, actually think of the decks as relationships at this moment. So that's why I'm describing them in such a way. Like, I feel like I'm being shut out by Shadowscapes. Dark Wood. This one is just, it's effortless. You know, it was pretty much love at first sight. I really like Sasha Graham's whole vibe pretty much. And Abigail Larson's art, again. She's one of those artists that I really like her style, so much so that she's coming out with a deck called Horror Tarot, I think in July, and I pre-ordered it. I don't really pre-order decks anymore. And I'm just like, yep, I'm just going to give I told Julie, I'm going to give myself the gift of not pretending that I'm not going to get this, that I'm not going to buy this. And I just pre-ordered it immediately because it's mass market, so it wasn't expensive or anything. Okay. That's the bottom shelf. Next shelf is like my now playing shelf. So the only deck that's on it is Telesma. Telesma I've been working with every single day since I got it. And I got it almost 2 weeks ago. And that's actually big for me. Like this one is, I don't even know what to say. I feel like this is going to be like top 3 for me. And I haven't felt that way about a deck since Darkwood Tarot. And that was 2020, I think. And then Marigold was my very first, like, love soulmate deck. And that was 2019. I didn't even have one that I loved that much last year. It would probably be Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, honestly. So this one's just like, I use it. I don't even want to use anything else right now. That's how much I'm loving that. So relationship's great in that sense. Next, okay, so I'm on the next shelf now. So everything now is in order of this most recent to least recent. Oh, and I have a couple decks in the other room too. But all my decks that are in the other room are keepers. Like I've got the Notorious JBG in the other room, and I think that's the only one, actually. I have it in a little wooden tarot holder. So this one I just got last month. Dream Vision. This one I'm on the fence about, but since it's a new enough acquisition, I really like the sort of alien artwork. And I used it for a couple of client readings and it worked really well. It was just, most decks really do work well with clients though, I've found. As long as it's a deck that the symbolism's easy to, you know, to get at a glance. So that one I don't know if it's forever, because I haven't bonded with it a lot, even though I've worked with it a fair amount since getting it. Okay, next, Aquarian Tarot. This one felt pretty effortless from the beginning. Like, I've only had it for like a month or so, but it's on the older US Games cardstock where it's not like super fucking thick as fuck. Super fucking thick as fuck. And it's just, I love the colors. I love all I'm actually totally fine with like the weird facial hair, the mustaches and shit. This is an effortless relationship. Like, I don't see myself getting rid of this anytime soon. Next, Ruby Lescott that I paid way too much for on eBay. This one it was difficult at first because this deck is extremely well loved. Do you see how chipped the edges are? This is after I trimmed off part of the edges. Like I trimmed off a small amount of all 4 edges, and I should have done more and re-edged it. I think this one's gonna be a good relationship, but again, right now we're looking at ones that I've acquired pretty recently. Like it's just been within the last 2 or 3 months that I got this one. But I've been using it, I've been pairing it with Tarot of Vampires since they both sort of have a New Orleans vibe to me. This one obviously this is my favorite card in the deck right here. And I really don't mind all the like boobs falling out of the dresses and stuff. This one is like, it's a little psychologically challenging. So it's one of those decks that like I dip into when I'm feeling brave. And then sometimes I have to put it away after a couple of days. But so far, I think this is a good relationship. Like every time I get it out, I can use it for a little bit longer. Every time I get it out, I like it a little bit more. Oh, I don't even know if I've shown this one on the channel yet. But I got Neon Moon this year. And I bonded a lot with it. Oh, sorry, bump the tripod. I bonded a lot with it when I first got it. Holding it upside down. I bonded with it so much that I don't even know when it's upside down. I love the colors. I love the sort of like cyberpunk vibes. I feel like this is going to be a deck that our relationship is going to be sort of that friend that you really like hanging out with, and when you do hang out with them, it's like no time has passed and you spend the whole evening together until the sun comes up, but then you don't necessarily need to see them again for another 5 years, you know? I mean, I don't think I'm going to use it that infrequently, but I think that this is definitely a forever love. I don't have anything else like this. And it really slayed me when I first got it. And I think that's the key for me right now. I mean, that's a thing that I'm realizing right now, is that for me, I have to immediately be very enamored with a deck. Even if, you know, that wanes, I'll come back to it if we've had an immediate bond. You know, I'm not sure there's ever been a deck that I didn't have an immediate bond with that actually ended up sticking around long term. You know, maybe that's the point that I'm trying to make here. If you don't have an immediate bond with a deck and you're just thinking to yourself, man, I'd like to work with this someday, why are we doing that to ourselves? You know, life is too short to be, you know, telling yourself that you're going to work with a particular tarot deck. If you already have several that you love working with, why are you keeping something around that you hope to work with someday? So I guess that's the thing. Like, what is the time limit? So, I mean, I did not have that immediate connection to, and maybe that's a question I'm asking for everyone else too. Like, was there ever a tarot deck that you got that you didn't have an immediate connection to, that later you created a connection to it? Okay, next, Ufo Tarot. This one I did have an immediate connection to. I definitely don't have anything else like it. It's really delightful, I think. It kind of makes me think. This wouldn't be one I would probably get out for like client readings or anything like that, but it's like, it's Ufo Tarot. Like, there are certain themes that, like, as long as you did a decent job with the theme, even if I'm not going to use it that often, I have room for it. I have space for it in my brain. And I definitely have space for Ufo Tarot. Crow's Magic I definitely had an immediate bond with that. Those are the title cards, okay. I do really like it. And I like the guidebook. I hope to have it one day. And it does speak to me in a very specific way. The aesthetic reminds me of my childhood. Can you guys hear Michael's making music in the other room? Like right on the other side of the wall. I'm sure you can hear it. I love it when he does that. I think he's doing it on purpose too, because I told him I was about to record a video and then he went in there and started playing music. I really do like this deck a lot, and we definitely had an immediate bond, and I feel like we definitely have some bonding to do still, but yeah, I think that's the key for me. If I don't make an immediate bond, I think that's what it is. I think that's why I pressed record. Thank you guys for being here for that. kind of just have like, my tripod has this thing, you know, it's the like adjustment lever to like tilt up and down, and it's just like, it sticks so far out from the tripod that I'm always bumping it with my chin or something. Tarot of Haunted House. This is one I associate with Sylvain. Because he was the one that convinced me that I needed this deck. I mean, not that he was trying to sell it to me, but... And I love it. I immediately loved this deck. And I just want to know it better. That's it. It's that effortless connection. When you immediately like a deck and you want to work with it more. Even sometimes when you immediately like it and you know you're not going to work with it super often. I don't know. I guess I have room for decks that I know I'm not going to work with often, as long as I don't know. I'm trying to like put my finger on what it is. Like, why am I totally cool with UFO Tarot when I know I'm hardly ever going to use it? Whereas there are other decks that if I feel like I'm hardly ever going to use them, they gotta go. I don't know. I really don't know how to articulate it. Moon Void is a difficult one for me because I don't feel super connected to it, despite the fact that I've altered almost every single card. But it was a gift, and I like what I did to it. Actually, I think this is an isolated incident. Like, looking at it right now, I'm feeling warmth towards it because I altered it. But I did not feel an immediate connection to this one, but I made it my own. This is another one that's like, I really don't use it very often. But I had an immediate connection to it that was just effortless. It's like, I don't even need to work with this deck to know that it's for me. It reminds me of one of my very first decks, which was Egyptian Tarot. This is by the same artist, actually, as Egyptian Tarot. But I like this one more. And it's really pretty. It's just really pretty. And I love an Egyptian aesthetic. So I got no problems with that. This one doesn't make noise. It's a combination of like, did I make an immediate connection to something, and how much noise do I feel like it makes? This one I'm a little worried about. It does make some noise, but it's my only Marseille deck. So that's why it ends up sticking around. And I fucking love the colors. And I did have an immediate connection to it, but it wasn't a very deep connection. I don't think Marseille is really for me. I don't think, what's his name? Patrick Valenza? Yeah. I don't think his art is really for me, but this color scheme, I've also found that color scheme, like, trumps a lot of other things. I like color scheme. If the color scheme is right, if the color story is not right, I do not like a deck, is something that I have found for sure. So this one, I mean, I don't think there's any danger of me like wanting to put it in purgatory because I love the colors and it's my only Marseille deck. So if I ever decide I do want to like go deeper into Marseille, I have this, but I'm totally fine with just using it as is. I don't feel like I need to learn Marseille to use it. Tarot of the Sweet Twilight is, I think it was my favorite new deck of last year, probably. I just recently cut the borders off. And I think it looks way better this way. I love the colors in this deck. I love the colors. Oh my God. Gorgeous. And I love what this deck makes me think about. And I definitely had an immediate connection with this one. it's harmonizing. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, since they all make noise, they have to harmonize with each other. I know that might sound stupid, but it makes sense to me. Next is Desert Illuminations. This was one of the easiest purchasing decisions of my life. As soon as I saw that this existed, I was just like, oh no, where do I buy? And I'm not that kind of person. Like, usually I think about a deck for a while before I hit purchase, but this one, there was no thinking. I think I found out about it and I purchased it within half an hour. And it's a good thing I did, because I got literally one of the last 6 copies of the first printing of this deck. Because I like immediately started following her Instagram, and I saw that like the most recent post she had made before I found out about it and bought it, she had said there was 6 copies left, and it was like earlier that day or something. So I got one of the last 6 copies of the first printing of Desert Illuminations, and it blew up after that. And people, like, it's sold out now. I'm so sorry I'm showing it to you guys, but because it is a gem and I love it. So this was definitely an immediate connection, and it is a specific vibe because it's New Mexico. That's what it is. That is what it is. This one's a hard one. Goth Nancy. I think it is the best pop culture deck that I've ever had in my possession, because, I mean, it's goth and new wave, so that's kind of my thing. And it's pretty RWS based. It's very easy to understand. I love the colors. It's a good deck. It really is. There's a little bit of like saltiness. I sort of have like a bad taste in the back of my mouth because of, I just sort of, yeah. I'll just stop there. Because it might be petty shit. Look, it's divine. I love it. I do love it. It's sort of been in timeout for a while though, because I'm kind of waiting for the saltiness to subside. So this one, I'm not thinking about getting rid of it because I do like it. I do like it. I don't know, is any shit making any sense? Sasarai Beto. So we're back in, since I have my decks organized, the top 2 shelves anyway, of these smaller boxes. I have organized by chronological order from when I got them. So since we're going backwards, we're going back, this is December 2019. This is the last deck I bought in 2019. And I have trimmed it because it was starting to get really worn on the edges, and I just trimmed it a little bit and edged it in black. And I love this deck. This deck is, yeah, I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. It's my most used client deck. It's usually the one I grab. It's just so easy. It's so easy for anyone to understand. It's so loving. So my relationship with this deck, I really don't use it much for myself, but I use it for clients. And so this one's, you know, the relationship that I have to it is not super close, but I still feel very affectionate towards it because it's my client deck. And it is affectionate towards everyone, including me. This is my most affectionate, loving deck, I would say. I heard someone say that the German version of Modern Witch, which is what this is like hard to find now. I just cut the titles and the borders off of mine. This isn't another effortless deck for me because it's just a Rider-Waite-Smith clone with, you know, modern women in it. And I like it. I like the comic book style art. It's not always what I want, but yeah, this is definitely effortless. An effortless relationship. Like we're just good friends and we can always communicate. There's no drama with me and Modern Witch. No drama at all. Santa Muerte. Okay, well, this is an interesting one. Because this is an isolated incident, it seems, in my collection. Because I did not have an immediate connection to this deck, really. And I have created a pretty great bond with it. It's not an all-the-time deck, for sure. It's definitely one that it demands a certain level of respect. It definitely has some noise. And the noise is, it's a different tone than my other decks, for sure. But it is very valuable to me, actually. So this is an exception, maybe, because I've had this deck since summer of 2019. And it wasn't immediately communicative to me. But I love it now. And I don't even need to necessarily use it that often to know that I love it. If that makes sense. Okay. Only 7 left. Dark Angels. Favorite card in the deck. Again, 9 of Pentacles. If I like a 9 of Pentacles in a deck, I usually like the whole damn thing. This is another one that, like, this one doesn't need anything from me. You know, this one does not create very much noise at all. It just kind of hangs out. It doesn't demand anything of me. It's Robert Smith. It makes me happy. It's kind of stupid, kind of bad, but I love it. So again, very easy relationship in the case of Dark Angels. Very easy relationship. Halloween Tarot. Kind of the same thing, really. This lives in my purse from, like, I don't know, September through December. August through December. And it's just cute. It's just cute and good. And it just makes me happy. It just makes me happy. Decks that you work with should make you happy. You know? You should enjoy working with them, not feel like you have to work with them. Or not feel like you should be working with them, you know? Marigold. I don't even need to I don't even need to get that one out. Because she's my baby. Moon Power Tarot. This is one that's been in purgatory several times. But it always ends up coming back. Right now I'm kind of fond of it again. But for a while, I was really thinking about getting rid of it. But my mom gave this one to me, and she is not... This is the only tarot deck my mom's ever given me. She's given me an oracle deck, but this is the only tarot deck she's ever given me. And it's so delightfully dumb. And it is definitely one that, like, doesn't demand anything of me, for sure. Probably my favorite card in the deck right here. It's good. It's good. Okay, we're getting close. 3 more. Rider-Waite-Smith. This is one that, like, I avoided for the longest time, but until I started really creating a relationship with this deck, I wasn't learning tarot. I did not learn tarot until I learned Rider-Waite-Smith. So this is definitely a forever. And I keep the Centennial, like, I switch out the decks that are in my purse, but for the most part, it's the Centennial. That's the one that keeps coming back to my purse. So it's the one that I have on me at all times. RWS, because it's so easy to know. You know? Tarot of the Cat People. Another one. This is the one that I used when Ludi Luskett was really hurting my feelings when I first got it. I used Tarot of the Cat People to kind of make me feel better, put me back together. This is a very loving, warm deck for me. This is the deck that was given to me in November 2018. Oh, one that is left out of this, because I store it downstairs now, because most of the time when I use it outside. So I want it close to me if I'm going to take it out to the porch. So I just have it in my dining room. Wild Unknown. Wild Unknown is a forever for me. I learned with it. I love using it outside, especially. Just using the wild unknown while you're actually in nature. I just always have to take a second when I see the Two of Wands, because that cat's face, I love it. This is my only like cat deck. And it's like aliens, an alien fantasy world with cats, and it is the best. The best. Okay. Last. And the reason that I wanted to do, the biggest reason why I wanted to do this video, is I have a relationship with a tarot deck that feels contentious, that feels forced, that feels, I feel shut out. I feel like there isn't room for me in this tarot deck. And I'm really sorry, because it's going to disappoint a few of you that I love. So remember that I love you when I say what I'm about to say. Thoth. So this deck has come in and out of my life since the 90s, I believe. Could have been very early 2000s. But this was like the one that everybody was like, you know, this is the cool one. Like growing up, I didn't really like RWS, but everybody was like, Thoth is the cool one. That's the new deck. That's the cool one. That's the one that all the cool kids like. And, you know, there were witches in my town that had the Thoth. And of all the versions that have passed through my hands over the years, and I've had a Thoth deck in my possession for most of my adult life. Up until, I think, 2019 is when I got rid of it. And then I rebought it again at the end of last year. And of all the versions of Thoth that I've had, I like this one the best. It's not like the tiny pocket size, but it's a little bit smaller than a typical tarot card. And the colors are really vibrant, and the cardstock is nice and flexible, and it comes in this cute purple box. But I do not like the art in this deck, for the most part. I don't feel connected to this deck. And so when I got it again at the end of last year, I was interested in it. I was interested in approaching it in a different way, because it had always felt very inaccessible to me. And it wasn't necessarily because, you know, people go on and on about all the symbolism in this deck and how intimidating it can be whenever people go on like that. Because that wasn't really a part of I didn't really know about that when I first started trying to learn Thoth. I didn't know anything about tarot. And I didn't have books. I was just trying to learn by just having this deck and reading the keywords in the guidebook. And I just never made a connection. And I think it is important what you first learn with. And some people, when they first learn, I mean, this is actually such a beautiful card though. For the most part, I don't really like the art. For the most part, I really don't like the colors. Like, it's just a lot of, I don't know, very masculine colors, very, very much a lot of phallic symbols. And I don't want to say masculine colors, I take that back. But just like a lot of like reds and oranges and yellows, and those aren't my color schemes. Like, this is my color scheme right there. This Eight of Swords. reds and purples, and I need a goth Thoth. I mean, Thoth just isn't goth enough for me, guys. I'm sorry. Except for this card. And still, I just feel like I don't really love the art of RWS either, but it feels so much more accessible to me. And I know that you don't have to know all of the symbolism in the Thoth to be happy with it. You don't have to. This is actually a really beautiful image, though. And I definitely feel like God, what? It's like a big veiny penis. Like, but the thing is, so every single, like, fucking phallic symbol, every single, I used to just think that this was just a cute goat until someone, like, pointed out the phallicness of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, of course. Like, what am I trying to say? I realize that you don't have to know all the symbolism in Thoth, but the truth is to know that every single thing has symbolism, and makes me feel like I should know it. And it feels very inaccessible to me. So here's what happened. Here's what got this whole process started for me. What had happened was my mom wanted a reading, and so I was doing a reading for my mom. And I decided to use Thoth because she has a copy of Thoth. She actually has a greenie, you guys. And so I was like, well, she's familiar with this deck, so I'll use this deck. And I was getting nothing from it, despite the fact that I know tarot. It was like, I was getting nothing from it. I was feeling like the deck didn't want to talk to me. And I don't normally have that feeling when I'm doing readings for other people. Normally it doesn't matter which deck I pick. The only other time I've run into that is with Santa Muerte. Santa Muerte doesn't really like to work with others. And most of the time it doesn't like to work with me either, but I still want to keep it for some reason. But I definitely got the vibe from Thoth that it did not want to talk to me. And I was kind of upset, and I put it away, and then I pulled out Sasrabito and everything was fine. I was able to start the reading over, and it made sense. And then, a few days later, I was like, okay, what was that about? So I actually pulled this deck out, and I actually really like the shuffle of this deck. Like, the cardstock is good. Like, I don't have any reason to have a bad relationship with this deck. And I've been keeping an open mind about it, but I really haven't wanted to work with. I was like into it for a second when I first got this copy of this deck in October. I was into it for a second, with lots of encouragement from Sylvain, and I know that, like, a lot of people I love really love this deck. But I pulled a few cards. I can't remember which cards I got, but I pulled a few cards from it the other day, and I basically just point blank asked Thoth, why don't you want to work with me? What's the issue with our relationship? What do I need to do in order to work with you? And the answer was very, how do I word this? It was kind of gatekeepery. It was sort of like, you're not smart enough to work with me. You're going to have to, it was almost like, you're going to have to do a lot of work before you're ready for me, and I don't want to work with you. Which was not the vibe that I was getting from it when I first got it. And why am I getting that vibe now? I don't know. What does that mean? Do I need to cleanse this deck? Do I need to? I don't know. But I have had really no desire to work with it until I got it out for my mom's reading. And then it basically told me to fuck off. And that's the vibe that I'm getting from it. So I'm like, why am I trying to force a relationship with a tarot deck? I mean, to be honest, this image on the back of the cards, I'm never going to be okay with this. I know you don't necessarily have to view it as like a fucking Christian symbol. That's not really the point. Like, there's like many pages in the fucking Thoth book that I have talking about just the backs of these cards. But here's the thing. So the fact that every single card is completely jam-packed with symbolism and information, and every single thing means something, makes me feel like there's no room for me. There's no space in this deck. This deck wasn't made to welcome me to using it. And I know that, you know, like, I can hear Sylvain right now. I'm sorry, I love you so much, but I just don't think I can do it with this deck. And I'm not thinking about getting rid of it because, you know, it's a very important tarot deck in the history of tarot. I'm gonna keep it. It's just like, I will always keep Triomphe della Luna because it is my one representation of a Marseille. Like, I don't think I'm gonna let it go, because there's always the possibility that I could come to it and have that relationship that other people have to it. Maybe I really do need to learn a lot more before I can be ready for Thoth, which it just makes me angry even saying it out loud and makes me want to get rid of it immediately. But I just feel like there's no room for me. And I also feel like, because I know some of the history of the creation of this deck, it's like, in my mind, it's like Aleister Crowley yelling at Lady Frieda Harris for decades and making her redo a bunch of the cards because she wasn't doing it right, and like being super micromanagey about every tiny little aspect of every single painting, is what it sounds like the experience of the creation of this deck was like. And it just feels confining. I feel like I can feel that coming through it. That is what I'm getting from this. And I know that other people have much better relationships with Thoth, but for me, it feels like it doesn't want to work with me. It feels like it wants to keep secrets from me. It wants all of its symbolism to be unknown to me. It's like it's making fun of me for not being smart enough to work with it. And it doesn't help that whenever I talk about Thoth on my channel, you know, a lot of people come out of the woodwork and start telling me how to use it, telling me that I'm doing it wrong. And I realize that that shouldn't sour my feelings towards the deck itself. It's not the deck's fault. And you know, I've been on record as saying, who gives a shit about artist intent? So why am I worrying about what Aleister Crowley feels? But I can just feel aggression from this tarot deck. Aggression and like gatekeepery shit. And I'm just not feeling the vibe with this deck, and I never have. The only vibe that I felt was ever positive in conjunction with this tarot deck was back when I first got it in October. I was curious about it again and looking at it through the eyes of someone that knows tarot very well. And that was the first time I was looking at Thoth with those eyes. Since I had gotten rid of it in 2019, whenever I first started learning tarot, I got rid of this deck because I just didn't like the art. And I was like, whatever, I've got all these other decks I like now. So when I got it back in October 2021, I felt curiosity towards it. And then Sylvain, sweetest person ever, like I have the Thoth to thank for our friendship, kind of, in a way. Because whenever I started talking about getting it again on my channel and that I was curious and I wanted to work with it, he filmed a video and sent it to me. This was before he even had an English language channel. He filmed a video to encourage me to work with Thoth, to encourage me to feel like I could use it in whatever way I wanted, to not let anyone tell me that it's too esoteric or anything like that, to just work with it and figure out how I feel about it without that other shit in the way. And I love him so much for sending me that video. And I love him so much anyway, because now we're friends. And if nothing else, Thoth created that connection between the two of us. So it ain't all bad, but I don't feel love for this tarot deck. All the same, I don't. And I'm not blaming this deck, but I posted like a 5 or 10 minute video talking about the court cards, the way that I was understanding them. And I know that it's not the right way to understand the Thoth court cards, but the way that I was understanding them, the way that I have to understand them in order to even work with this fucking deck. And I posted about that right when I first got this deck again. It was like a few days after I got it. And literally right after filming that video, I went roller skating and I sprained my thumb. So I mean, that means nothing except I just don't have a good feeling about this deck, and I no longer want it to be on my shelf. So I don't know what that means, because I don't really want to get rid of it yet, because I think this is the only Thoth for me. This little purple box that was only $12, and Michael bought it for me, so I didn't even have to pay for it. He bought it for me for my birthday. So I don't like, it shouldn't be making noise. It's just this nice little box on my shelf, but it is making so much noise. It's screaming at me that I don't know it, but it doesn't want me to know it. I don't know. I know that there's like, if I were a smart person, I could like actually describe this in a way that makes some kind of sense. But the whole point of all of this is, why are we wasting our time in this life to create relationships to decks that feel forced in some way? And me trying to work with Thoth has felt forced since day one. And that deck has been in my possession for, with the exception of those 2 years that I was without it before I got it again at the end of last year, that deck had been in my possession for 18 to 20 years, probably. Because before I really knew tarot, before I was really working with tarot, I had Thoth, an incomplete Egyptian tarot, and an incomplete Yukio. I might have had all the cards to Yukio. But those were my 3 decks for the longest time until 2018. Or maybe it was 2017, I bought Crystal Tarot. And then 2018, I got gifted Tarot of the Cat People. So Thoth is, it's not like I haven't tried, you guys. It's not like I haven't tried. Because I have tried a lot, and it has never wanted to speak to me. With the exception of like that moment where I was like, well, okay, let me approach it differently then. Let me approach it like with a more open mind. And I did. I approached it with a more open mind, and it still didn't want to talk to me. So why am I forcing this? It doesn't matter that it's not for me, because it's for a lot of people. A lot of people use and love the Thoth deck. Love and use it every single day. So it doesn't have to be for me. And that's okay. And if you have some in your collection right now that are making noise that makes you uncomfortable, and you look at them and go, you know what, I've wanted to have a relationship with this deck for X number of years and it just hasn't happened, maybe now's the time. And I'm not trying to encourage you to like, I don't know, do anything the way that I'm doing it. I'm just showing you what I have found, and maybe you will find the same. I don't know. My eyes are irritated from the incense that I'm burning right now, which does not usually happen to me. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. So I didn't really decide to get rid of anything today, except for, I think I'm going to put Thoth, I'm going to put it in a box. I'm going to put it away for a little while. I'm going to give it a timeout, because it really pissed me off when it wouldn't read for me the other day. I just think that's rude. And I'm blaming it on Aleister Crowley. Okay, that's it. If you guys have any thoughts about any of this, let me know. Okay, bye!